It's been 1 year since I've registered for SRS, and throughout that 1 year I've completed 200 official races and finished about 50 times in the top 10. I'm not a fast driver, I'm mediocre at best. But throughout this 1 year I've had a roller coaster experience with SRS, and I'd like to talk a bit about this. First of all of the first impressions that people can get about SRS, and then we get into the racing. I don't think it's the right one for SRS. So what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, what is SRS actually? What does Sim Racing System stands for? Let's go over the 4 options that we are given as context. First of all, we have Twitter, which says that SRS is a free esport platform for multiple simulators. Alright, I'm not really into esport. I don't think any of the races that I took part in SRS kind of feels like esport. That's a bit odd. Alright, what does Facebook say? Facebook says that SRS is a complete online racing system. What does that even mean? Are there systems out there that are incomplete, unfinished? What does that mean? Alright, let's move on. YouTube and the SRS website has the same description. That is, this is originally a system that started out as a league management and then turned into what it is right now. Alright, that's the most in-depth description that I've had about SRS, and yeah, it makes sense. What does some of the videos out there say? SRS has one unique feature. Alright, what is that unique feature? So the ratings carry over and connected throughout all of the sims that you race in. That's cool. Right, isn't that the same thing that Sim Racing GP now has? And they recently added AMS2 into the list. They had Assetto Corsa Competizione, Race Room, and now AMS2 as well. So these are just 4 sims that SGP right now has for every single day. Let's check what are the sims that SRS supports. So we have Automobilista, we have NASCAR 2003, we have R-Factor 2, we have AMS2, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Race Room. Alright, so this system has a lot more sims included. Alright, sounds good. So SRS should be the one that gives you the most options based on these first impressions. Alright, let's register. So we registered. And now we are waiting until we get bored and complain about that our account is still not activated, and then told that we need to provide actual information about ourselves in a form of a, driver's license or any other ID. That's very odd. Sure, okay, let's put this aside. Alright, so we registered. Our account is now activated. Okay, hang on. Where are all the sims? We have Assetto Corsa, occasionally AMS2 or ACC. Where are all the sims? How is it that there are no oval or dirt series, but they are mentioned there and they have rankings for that? Here is my first problem with SRS. It's mentioned as a simulator system that's connecting all of the other sims out there. You can basically sign up for anything, anytime you want. And then you get into this and it's Assetto Corsa 90% of the time. Occasionally ACC or AMS2, but this race has also clashed with other races at the time. So it's mainly a racing system for Assetto Corsa. All of the extra features that are out there in SRS are also gravitating towards Assetto Corsa. Assetto Corsa is the only one with skin sharing and with official broadcasts. You almost never see this with any other sims on SRS. And occasionally, when there's an oval race, that still counts as a road race. It kind of feels like they drop off with what SRS used to be, but still carrying on mentioning what it used to be. But let's forget this. How's the racing on SRS? With all the security stuff on it and with the protest form. Wait a second. Why is protesting only allowed for certain simulators and not for the other sims? That's odd. Either way, with all of the security stuff, surely the racing after almost 6 years is as refined as it can get. We have a point system, we have a split system. Hang on. Does this actually say that if you get into split 2, you only get championship points, but it does not add your finishing position to the statistics? Okay, so what you're telling me is that if 40 people sign up for a race, 20 people can just literally do 3 laps in the race and then leave because that's enough for them to not lose rating, but their positions will not matter whatsoever. That's kind of disappointing. What's also disappointing is that this is an actual way to cheese out the system. So if you get into a race and let's say the game bugs out and tells you that there is a penalty that you need to serve, but the penalty never clears, you can actually retire early in the race and still get full points for your efforts. Does this mean that smaller lobbies help you increase your driver rating in the system? So you get the same points for winning a race where there's only 6 cars and if there are 20 cars. It's time we talk about the racing itself on SRS. Now, even though most of it is held on AC, I would like to quickly start off with my experience that I had on other simulators with SRS. It's limited, but the time I spent on AMS2 was enough for me to never revisit AMS2 on SRS. The application that we had to use in order to join the server was broken half the time, the lobbies were kinda low on people, and the driving standards were questionable at best. I know it can get better, but based on what I've seen from people who are active on SRS, one of them even leaving a review on AMS2 and mentioning the situation of SRS, it's not really going well. It could be down to the game being unfinished or full of bugs, or just simply the fact that people on SRS don't really care how they race on other simulators. The so mentioned incident system is also pretty bad on AMS2, counting every single contact with every single stuff on track as an incident point. It needs some fine tweaking, and so far it kinda discourages people from even giving a shot at AMS2 on SRS. Not to mention that you have to change your Steam name to your real life name in order to actually be able to sign in for the race. I don't know why, but you have to do it. Moving on to Assetto Corsa is probably the most accurate description of what you can expect from SRS. Some of the races are very clean, some of them have very little attendance from people, and some of them are unfortunately worse than public lobbies. What is this? Good! Good! Awesome job there! SRS has a skin transfer app where you can share your skins with the rest of the field, and that app sometimes can crash your game on certain tracks. I've never seen anyone mention this. If I missed it, that's probably because SRS keep the conversation on their own forums instead of embracing things like Discord servers, which by the way they have one, and it's extremely bare bones, having only one text chat and the rest being voice chat for games that they don't even race on SRS anymore. When it comes to the variety of races on SRS, there are plenty of returning combination, and asking for new combinations is a slow process that sometimes never happens. It took at least 1 year to finally have Bahrain, for example, featured on SRS. It happened throughout maybe 2 or 3 times of the first half of 2022, and both times with mixed results. Some of them were only for the American series, some of them were for one-off European appearances. One of the reasons why we see returning cars and tracks often on SRS is because there is a bit of a limit to what can and cannot be featured on SRS. I understand if they want everything to be fine and don't want trouble, but some of these decisions feel like a moot point in these days. Things like not allowing chat in the sessions, because I guess that's what they mean, or making sure that the cars that are submitted for the series can be used without shaders patch. If you checked any of the recent live streams of the races on SRS, the reason why the game looks the same in the past 5 years is because all of the races are ran without shaders patch installed. Again, it kind of is a bit of a moot point when shaders patch can help with optimization for the game that you're using the most for your system. If it's not requested, all of the races are held at the same time. No night racing, no morning time racing, no sunset. Every single race visual-wise looks the same for everyone. I know it might sound a bit of a nitpick to mention this, but when you have newer people coming into your system, people like the Thunder Crew or Hihi Racing, and they straight out showcase what is possible with Assetto Corsa, the simulator that you use mainly for your system, it kind of feels a bit of a weird move to say, no, we don't need those features. And that is where we are currently. Some of the people who are involved with SRS are now actually taking time off from SRS. In the meantime, we have new people coming in, and attendances are dropping off with some of the races. I know most of the things that I mentioned about SRS words in this video sound negative, but I truly think that this system still has a good core in it. It just needs changes. Here is what I'd like to see introduced on SRS. You might not agree with it, but based on what I've seen throughout this 1 year, I think these changes would kinda enhance what's currently on SRS. What made SRS unique back then is now gone. At least it feels like it's gone. It's no longer a system that is connecting all of the different simulators out there. It's a system that's mainly used for Assetto Corsa, and anything outside of that barely ever exists. So why not fine-tune it to that? Let's say, alright, we're gonna drop the other simulators, but we're gonna focus on that one that has been the main simulator throughout the years, the one that we know is the core of the system right now. Let's rework the point system. Let's rework the incident system in a way that it actually makes sense. Give points to lower split races. Make shaders patch a standard requirement for the races. Give out presets that they can use so that way more people can join in and enjoy the racing with more interactions. One of those interactions is actually setup sharing that is allowed thanks to shaders patch. With how little time I actually spent on Sim Racing GP, I can tell that thing actually helps a lot with newcomers. What would also help with SRS is ditching some of the time slots. Now this might be a bit of a controversial thing because SRS likes to mention that there are races on SRS 24/7. Most of those races never have people in them. It feels like a gimmick that's only kept alive because it's a good selling point. There are races on the system 24/7 that you can sign up for every single day. Yes, but those races only count official once there are more than 6 drivers in it, which defeats the whole point of saying that there are races 24/7 when half of them, or at least half of them, don't mean anything. It makes no sense. And ultimately, knowing that the entire system is kept alive by one person, most likely, it makes no sense financially either. I understand it's a good thing to mention. It's a bullet point that can bring in people who don't know how the system actually is. But once you see that these servers never get people racing on it, why keep it alive? Focus on those races, those time slots where actually things happen. Bring life to the American series, for example. Those guys struggle a lot with numbers. Some of them barely have 6 people racing for the races. Bring in races, special races, one-time races. Not everything has to be a championship. Make fun combos that last for 1 week or so. Right now, SRS is getting stale because it's getting more and more predictable. And I think some of the things, if we're redone or revamped or whatever, SRS could have a strong presence. But right now, they are losing people. At least it feels like it. It feels like a slow decline. And so far, no moves have been done to address the problem. I hope there will be a solution for it. And like I said, these are the things I would change about SRS. But I have no experience with coding. The only type of feedback I can give is my own thoughts. And I'm pretty sure some of them makes no sense. But based on what I've seen, this is how I feel about SRS. Just like AMS2, how people like to mention it, it has great potential. SRS2 still has great potential. But I feel like some of the selling points that were true about it in the past, now just jokes. It's a system that connects multiple simulators, except we only use 3 at most. Competition have come along in the past years. I think if SRS would ditch some of the things that it thinks is still true and just focus on what's been going well with it and embrace that part, they could still have a strong presence. But now it feels like it's a bit of a decline. And I'm kind of worried that one day SRS will just disappear if things go the same way. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a mediocre driver who likes to talk about stuff. Less than 1 minute and 20 seconds down, that's less than 80 seconds. So that means we might have just one more lap after this. Austin is sticking very close to that car in front. He's gaining, he's gaining, he's gaining. Will he go for a look? Or will he go for a move? That's so far just a look. Stays on the inside. Now there's the perfect opportunity. Will he go for a move there? They are going side by side, kinda. Bit of a quirk there, but from the looks of it, he has done it. Possibly on the final lap we have a lead change. And now comes Lassie back once again. They're going side by side. Lassie on the outside. Can he get it done? Yes! He takes the lead back. Austin down into P2. Amazing drive there. And look, there's P3 and 4. Once again, they are getting close. Question is, will they get close enough or not? Get an off track there somewhere. One of the back markers went off track. Austin has very few chances now. And once again going to approach Canada corner. Let's see if he goes side by side. Yes, he does. Gives enough space. But they do touch! The leaders collide! Both P1 and P2 are off! And Austin didn't get a good exit out of it. Haas! Rico Haas is the new leader of the race. Jari Penttinen is now up to P2. On the final lap of the race, the leaders crashed. And now we have a side-by-side as well for P3. Can Mattia get it? Across the finish line, he gets it.